right now I'm focusing on my Napoleon hat right here, the Napoleon hat. And as you can see, on the right side of the vehicle I have some rust here. There's a little bit of rust here. I think I'm going to save that part of it. Up underneath, if you can see that plate, looks like it might have got hit here. I have problems on the body too, rust over here, not sure if you can see that. And then on the left side of the vehicle I have this other end of the Napoleon hat here. You can see the rust is here, up in there. All of the rest of this hat is good. If you notice these tabs, these tabs are used to you know, hold down the seal. A little bit of rust here and underneath. You can see obviously the rust here and here. I was able to poke through there. The rest of the head bottom plate is good. And the Napoleon hat, rest of it is good except for the two ends. Here's a replacement from Wolfsburg. All right. So the plan is to cut the ends off of here and replace them. Replace this end here and this end here. So once I get those off, I'm going to see what's underneath. I might have to put like a sandwiching plate there. The other thing is I got the bottom plate from Wolfsburg. Okay, and I cut this piece off because it's a little bit difficult for the bottom plate over here, this bottom plate, which is all up under here. There's an extra piece here that I would have had to unweld. There's several pieces and layers that are going on here on this bottom plate, but so I decided that I was going to cut a piece along the bottom of this Napoleon hat and just kind of sandwich it up here. There's a hump here, if you've noticed. I'm going to take this hump out. I'm going to cut that flat on either side. Cut that flat, and then so I'll have this lip and the lip on the bottom plate, and then I would take this piece of the Napoleon hat and flip it. I don't know if you can see that. Flip it up under there and weld it all in place there. So that's the plan. Kind of piece all this stuff together and put it back to leave as much original and put it back to good operating condition. Okay, another thing. So the next level of this Napoleon hat task would be to measure how from some non-moving points where these are located on either side, so that when I replace these pieces, I can get those alignments correct. When I took the pans off of this, I used the holes on the pan. I used, you know, this point here, and I used these points, unfortunately. So so now I got pieces that are relying on those points to get correct within the pans. So I came up with one method so far, which was to take the bottom plate, and unfortunately the bottom plate, as from the other videos, will be the bottom plate's going to be cut from here probably. So some of this is going to change, but at least I have this angle here, right? I'll probably get several different points, but I figured if I could map that, and then inside there, you can't see them, but inside map where the holes were, that's like one measurement of, or one template of where my holes were. And then the other thing was taking the alright, so that would be my well, anyways, that's one way. So then another way, I measured the hole centers from the hump here. So I got that, and I put those markings, you know, there and there. So I did that on both sides, as you can see, and hopefully that'll get me back to square and true again. So Okay, another problem with this carcass was because of the rust spots that I found on the Napoleon hat and underneath the plate from some kind of accident or something, and all of this rust that started happening. Water obviously was getting inside of the on this bottom plate and within, you know, the Napoleon hat on either side. And what had happened is water started getting into the head on the bottom plate. So I've vacuumed out a bunch of I can't see it, bunch of rust flakes, I guess, and peeling, like top level layers of peeling. So I have a bunch of rust in there right now. Surface rust, you know, a little worse than, you know, kind of light surface rust. So what I'm thinking about doing here, you know, and it goes all the way, goes pretty far in there, up into where the shifter mount is, or shifter bracket. And then, so what happened was, once I put this thing up, when I put this up on the sawhorses, I put the head first up, so this thing was tilted. I have a picture, maybe I'll show it in there. And this, the back end of this thing was on the ground. Right when I did that, water started leaking out of both the heater cable tubes, and I think down here on the transmission mount bolts. So water was coming out of these horns onto the ground. So that made me wonder, wow, you know, obviously there's water in there, and I don't know why, because it's been in the garage for a while. So, you know, thinking about how to solve that problem and stop that rust. I also noticed in here there's, you know, because of you know, them greasing this shifter rod. I think you can see some fleck rust in there. So because of them greasing the shifter rod and whatnot, at this end of the chassis, there's greasy, thick, kind of greasy grime stuff in there. So I'm going to have to get some kind of, you know, degreaser, acetone and whatnot to get rid of the grease. And then I figured, so if I dump it in on the head end and I do the same thing and drop in the bottom here, I have it at an angle. Maybe try to scrub in there, reach in there as much as I can, scrub it all out, degrease it, then buy some of that stuff that converts the rust, stops the rust completely, and then from there, you know, try to spray paint in there as much as I can and get up into here, into these Napoleon hat ends, inside in there, as best I can, kind of seal it up. And then when I close it all up, at least I'll feel better, you know, consciously that this thing inside has been, you know, little TLC given to it. So that's the plan for once I get the Napoleon hats off and I start working on the inside of this thing before I close it all up and, you know, try to sandblast it and paint it. Okay, thank you very much. Alright, here we go. Cut the first part of this Napoleon hat, and you can see pretty rusty there up inside. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but there's little flecks of stuff in there, pieces of rust. Here's the piece that I'm going to try to replace. Actually, that's kind of heavy. It's pretty thick. So just took the hacksaw, cut. I'm not sure what I'm going to do next. I wanted to get to this point and evaluate, so I'll let you know what I decide. Probably take this piece off, this bottom piece, this lip from the Napoleon hat off, and then replace a sandwich piece, and then put the other piece that I have over there up underneath. So we'll see. Alright, just wanted to give you an update. Thanks, bye.